Dust 514 is a persistent shooter coming to the PlayStation this year. It's a free-to-play game, one of the first ones to release like that on the PlayStation 3. It is set within the EVE universe, but more than that, it also connects into the PC MMO experience of EVE Online, and together the two games combine to provide something which is really much bigger than the two sort of added together, and they create this sort of symphony effect of having millions of people now this year interacting to create an even more exciting space opera than EVE Online has provided so far.
This EVE Online universe that millions of people have heard of, and lots of EVE curious people out there who've heard about the drama and the intrigue and the planetary backstabbing and things going on. We're now extending that universe into a first-person shooter of moment-to-moment gameplay. Gamers on the PlayStation 3 will be able to pick up their gamepad, have a great 10-minute deathmatch if that's all you're looking for. But the experience extends much further into this universe where hundreds of thousands of people are continuously playing in their space opera, their hardcore science fiction notion there. If you're part of that infantry unit down in the Dust universe, you will be playing with those people in the EVE universe. You will be participating in that economy, you'll be part of those corporations and those alliances, and every bullet that you fire in Dust 514 will have a knock-on impact into the EVE Online universe.
For the past 8 years, EVE has really existed as this massive persistent world that is simulated on our supercomputer in London, where hundreds of thousands of people have had an amazing amount of adventures which have entertained way more people than have actually played EVE Online. And that inspiration and the ongoing development of EVE Online, where we've added various roles into EVE Online over time, making the game sort of bigger and bigger, that we thought, okay, what if instead of doing that we would add more roles into the sort of larger EVE universe and make specific experiences that would sort of tailor to those roles. And then we thought, okay, it would be great to have boots on the ground fighting over planets and providing into the sort of political spectrum of EVE Online. And that is then something we've been working on now for about 4 years, to figure out how you really make that experience a great sort of moment-to-moment first-person shooter on the PlayStation 3, sort of take part in that space opera, which is EVE Online as it has been now operating for 9 years.
The experience that we expect a gamer to have is very much what, if you've been playing Call of Duty or Halo or Battlefield or what have you in those big deathmatch PvP player competitive and collaborative team mechanics, you're going to get that in Dust in spades. But what's going to happen now in Dust is something that hasn't happened really for the shooter audience before, the persistence, the impact, that your shots really matter.
A big part of the actual interaction between the game is players in EVE Online can issue contracts into Dust, which Dust Marines can accept, and thus sort of provide input into the sort of territorial conquest game of EVE. Also, a big part of it is orbital bombardment, where players in EVE can basically provide orbital bombardment into Dust. So instead of calling an airstrike and it's all some fakery, then there are actual people behind the airstrike which you call inside Dust.
That's effectively an economic transaction in our universe where somebody has paid to earn currency in-game to make that missile happen, and it'll come down on the ground and it'll have that impact on Dust where people they'll reel from the effects of that.
Then there's another element where Dust soldiers on the ground can basically shoot up into space and affect fleet fights as they occur in EVE Online around planets. So those are the sort of the two main mechanical interactions. But really that's sort of the deep end of the rabbit hole of the Dust experience. Really when you start playing it, you just jump into a free-to-play persistent shooter, great moment-to-moment AAA gameplay. And then as you sort of dig into it, then all of a sudden you're accepting contracts from evil space corporations with plans for world domination, and before you know it, you're in Iceland at a fan fest getting a tattoo. Well, the main thing which we are contributing to the genre is really sort of persistency and impact. A lot of the shooters which are available don't really have a lot of sort of persistent impact. You might move up on a ranking somewhere, but you don't really leave a mark in the world. So you participate in the sort of endless deja vu of playing the same game over and over. Now people really have an impact. Your one shot could really topple an empire.
If you think about what the moment-to-moment gameplay has been for EVE Online, it hasn't been for every gamer, right? It is at its nature a hardcore PC game. But everyone's really been intrigued by this persistent universe, this single shard with the world record of peak concurrent users. Now we're opening that up to the tens of millions of people who have their PS3s connected to the PlayStation Network. Now they'll be able to just pick up a gamepad and jump into that universe 10 minutes at a time, hours at a time if they want to be in a 24-on-24 deathmatch. It's a very different thing, and yet it's still in that same virtual universe.
There's likely to be some overlap, but really, I mean, we are focused on providing a fantastic EVE Online experience, and the people that love playing EVE Online will continue to get more EVE Online and more focus on internet spaceships, as we have now been going through for the past few months. But really then Dust is this additional experience with all the people which have been intrigued by the sort of universe of EVE and this futuristic sci-fi sort of property that we have been developing over all this time. And now we have a more sort of accessible experience, sort of more of an instant gratification, jump in and play type of an access point to that. So it isn't really the plan to have people sort of play both EVE and Dust, even though I'm pretty sure some people will be doing that. It is really just providing this new gateway into the EVE universe for all the people which have been intrigued by it, while they have not been maybe fans of the current gameplay provided by EVE Online.
A lot of what we imagine will happen in Dust 514 is that people will, much like you've seen in some of the other AAA free-to-play types of games generated for core gamers, is you'll be able to get into that game for free. Get the full game. We're not sharding pieces of it off. There's no velvet rope saying you can't get here unless you pay. What we do expect to happen, though, is that as you play through the game, you will earn your way into better weapons, better armor, better vehicles, things like that. And you will have the ability, rather than to upgrade, to sort of side grade, right? You know, again, you'll earn your way into this game, but if you want to have more options, right? And that's one of the things that Dust 514 as a shooter is going to be innovative around, right? If you want to be a heavy, you can be a heavy with a light weapon and a sniper rifle. If you want to be a scout, you can be a fast guy with a big gun. Those are the kinds of things that we're going to do differently in Dust than you've seen in other first-person shooters. It's really about customizing your personal gameplay and customizing what you as a team of mercenaries are excited about doing.
So later this month, at a fan gathering we have in Iceland called FanFest, where we have about 1,000 players and press and partners that come to Iceland, and we talk about what we're doing with EVE Online and Dust. We'll be providing the first sort of public way to play the game. We're having 50 PlayStation kiosks set up, and we'll have a tournament that taking place during FanFest. Then in April, we'll open up the beta test we've been running since December last year. So tens of thousands of people will be getting beta keys into trying the game out come April.